Hey there, Jay here. We got an inside look at a KX125 build that's really cool. We've already done part of this on Dirt and Iron. We've showed some of this build with Micheal Fischer and myself. He's in Nebraska. He rebuilt this KX125. And we're gonna give you a look at everything he did to this thing. This time we have a lot of me talking with him. So he kind of walks through some of the stuff he did on this thing and some of the stuff involved in rebuilding an older bike like this. This is a 17-year-old bike or so. And so you can kind of get an inside look at what this thing, and this thing came out amazing, which you'll see at the end. Again, just a few $100, Craigslist buy, a bunch of parts, a few bikes, and we can get you a look at this thing right now. Okay, so in this KX125, 2003, Micheal Fischer from Nebraska, he really likes these bikes for some reason. Why do you like those bikes?
Grew up racing Kawasaki's, and I love the looks of them. I don't know, something about the green.
So he's stuck on green, and this KX125, he looked for one of these on Craigslist, right?
For a good 2 years before I actually found one.
Craigslist in California is a lot easier to find stuff than in at Nebraska.
I had 2 hours from home, had to drive to the middle of nowhere to find it, but found it in a bunch of milk crates just sitting there. So
yeah, I saw those pictures and you bought all those. How much did you pay for all those parts and all that junk?
About $1,200.
$1,200.
Got 3 bikes out of the deal.
And are you selling the stuff you didn't need?
Oh yeah, that all disappeared already.
Okay. So you got cleaned up on that, and now he's got this. He's already finished a KX250. Got a KX125. You can see he's tearing it down in this video here. You can see it coming apart, stripping it down to the frame. What did you find when you stripped this thing all the way down?
I found that every seal on this bike was leaking. I found the motor was completely locked up. Piston looked horrible. Frame was rusting in areas. I mean, it was just no good. I mean, it needed basically to be a brand new bike. Okay, so yeah, so you go through it. Of course, we got you. I helped you on some of this on this KX125. That it helped a bit, and we got you some all balls, bearings, seals, cables, clutch kit, carburetor rebuild kit. So you could go through and fix all those key components. I see that you guys took everything down and did all that. And then on the bike itself, you wanted to make it look similar to the KX250 you already finished. So what'd you go for on that? So we tore the motor down to nothing, and then we sent out all the cases to, again, Premier Vapor Blasting. They redid all the cases, even the airbox, just any of the little parts and pieces that I didn't or wasn't able to find. They can restore it, make it look like new. Which is
well, I noticed when I did a KX125 a while back, you can't buy an airbox from stock. Brand new, you'd have to find a used one like at eBay or something. Mm-hmm. Is the only way to get an airbox for one of these bikes.
So we sent that all out, and then I took the frame in, swing arm in for powder coating.
So you got the frame and the swing arm both powder coated.
Yep.
And then you did a similar plastic deal that you've done to your KX250. You kind of got this black look in the rear, green in the front. Elusive did your graphics. Moto Seat did the seat foam and seat cover. Tell us about your plastic on this bike first, before we talk about your suspension. But on your plastic, you got newer plastic on this bike.
Yeah, this same deal we did on the 250. We did the 2008 KX250F plastic, or the shrouds, with the 2013 front fender number plate. I feel like that combo just looked really, really good. Makes it look pretty mean in the front rather than the rounded off shrouds that were stock on the bike.
Okay, and then on the shrouds, you have to make some brackets for those?
Yep, we got the tank bolts actually mounted right up. We just had to modify the two down by the radiator and in the middle by the tank. But I just made 2 little brackets for each side, and they worked great, bolted right up.
And on the pipe in that bike, you did a treatment?
Yeah, that was the FMF nickel-plated pipe that I really wanted the factory fatty look, so we stripped the nickel plating off, sent it off to Premier Vapor Blasting, and they vapor blasted it, reheated the welds, and did the clear Cerakote on it. So it made it look awesome. I think everyone's going to really love it.
Very cool. Now let's talk about the motor a little bit. You got the cases done, and then you rebuilt it with the wrench rabbit kit, right? So tell us about that.
We did the wrench rabbit kit. Got all the new seals, new piston, new crank, everything all the way through. Got that looking good, and then we did the fat heads, cylinder head on it. So
a little more performance there, and it looks cool. So it adds a little more compression, right, with their setup there.
And then we did the custom engraving on the side too with my number, which is really neat.
Oh yeah. So, all right. So we have that. And where's the 927 come from?
That one was Dad's number back in the day when he grew up racing. He always had 927 on there, and I kind of took on the number, and then my brother and sister raced too, so we were all number 927 growing up.
Oh, very nice. So at least, but you guys were never in the same race, so it wasn't too confusing, right?
Right.
All right. So, but when you're driving down the road, you know, there's like a bunch of 927s.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if it was because of the fuel, the oil.
No, but Maxima really liked the bikes once I showed them, and they were all over the idea of using these bikes for 927 day.
Yeah, right. Right. So we got the Super Sprox chain and sprockets on there, Warp 9 wheels, Dunlop tires.
Actually, Brownlee Racing actually supplied me with the tires. Put me in touch with Dunlop and got us set up for these bikes.
Very good. And then you got uni filters, and then that's going to your electron carb.
Yeah,
that you went with that on this, and we run that a lot in the trail bikes, as we mentioned, and makes jetting a lot easier. And you got a lot of light speed pieces on here as well.
Oh yeah, we got something cool about it is they're running the 2011 250F front end on it. So we did that, which made it easier to find the light speed pieces for a newer bike. So we got the front rotor covered, fork guards, skid plate.
What all did you have to do to make that 2011 front end fit on?
I went to Trick Engineering, and they sell a little adapter for the steering stop. You just drill 2 holes through the stock steering stop and bolt it right on. Really, that's all you needed to do. I mean, it's steering stem all lined up and made it good to go.
Very interesting. And then you're running clamps for those. You have to run different triple clamps, obviously.
Yep.
And who made those? Are those just those clamps right off the KX250F?
Yeah, they're through Ride Engineering.
Okay.
Same with the bar mounts.
Okay. So we got that whole setup there with the Renthal bars, with our works connection, perch and levers. What else did you discover when you were working on this thing? And then when you put everything back, you know, like you see here, we're got this thing stripped down, putting it back together. What tips you got for guys putting this thing back together?
Take lots of pictures as you're doing it. Do your research ahead of time so you're not searching Google at 2 a.m. when you're trying to put it back together and getting frustrated with it all. But I mean, the motors on these bikes are pretty simple, so that it wasn't too horribly hard to do that. But just take your time and enjoy it.
And what do you think? How many hours you got into this thing, this KX125?
Oh man!
If you count all your hours of working on it and shipping parts off,
man, there's got to be hundreds of hours into this thing.
Hundreds of hours.
I mean, it started again back in 2014, or bought the bike in 2016. Sat in the garage for a couple of years. During that time, researching, finding parts, different ideas, until I met Jay. And then we just kind of, from there, had to order all the parts in and send stuff off. I mean, it was crazy. So that's been a 8-month process just on the build itself, but that's working.
So it's been like having a second job.
Oh yeah,
these last
sure. It's
8
been
months.
A lot of late nights.
And your wife's cool with this?
Yeah, she's in school right now, so she's studying all the time. And
so you do it when she's studying or class. You're in there working on this thing.
Yep, exactly.
All right. So what are you going to do now? Like now that you have to go back to regular life, is this going to be okay? Like, is she going to be like, "Hey, what are you doing in the house, dude?"
Yeah, she'll probably just make me go back out to the garage. I'm thinking I can work on some more projects.
So you're going to have these KX125s and 250 in your garage, and they're just looking cool. What are you going to do? Do you have plans to do another one of these?
I don't know. I got a couple more KX sitting in the garage right now. 125 still sitting there, so I don't know if I'm going to sell them or if I'm going to keep using them. But I mean, I've got so many extra parts now. You could
almost make one.
Yeah.
Okay, so if like let's go down to on this KX125. How much money do you think you have into it?
Probably close to 10.
$10?
No, I guess personally, no. I mean, value of everything, probably close to 10, but
10 grand.
So close to 6.
So somewhere in that range, between 6 and 10. So whenever people tell me these numbers, I always round up because that's usually the deal. So because no one keeps a really exact total, but so it's a lot of money in there. So 10 grand, and then now these are one of the things that people beat us up on. We do these projects. They go, it's just cheaper to go buy a brand new bike because you can buy a brand new bike between 8 and 10 grand, right? So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, for the amount of riding that I do, I'd rather have a bike that I completely modified myself and am proud of. I mean, a stock bike is sweet, but then you go out and spend 10 grand on a stock bike, then you got to hop it up, and you're at whatever that comes out to. So
you're not riding much anymore, so you're not too worried about it.
No.
So you're just gonna
for fun once in a while.
Just for fun, once in a while, and not because when you were racing as younger, you took it more serious and were on it, and you'd be more concerned about having the latest and greatest. Now it's just hey, something that's really cool to look at. So this bike's obviously looks amazing, and we got some video here, some GoPro of Ping riding this thing at Paris at the Racer X shoot. So that's been kind of fun. Have you enjoyed that part of it? You know, building this thing that it can be in a magazine and you know, video and so forth on Racer X and all that.
It's been an awesome experience. I mean, something I've always wanted to do. Building that first KX250 I did, I sent that to every magazine I could find, trying to just get a response back from them, trying to figure out who I need to talk to or what I need to do to actually make it happen. So it's been super cool to actually meet you and be able to work with Racer X on this project.
Yeah, it's been fun, and I've helped different guys over the years on a few projects. Mainly it's buddies and stuff, because a lot of guys, man, they get into these things and they don't realize how much work it is to do one of these bikes, and so what they think is going to take a month takes 9.
Yeah.
You know, like it's seriously like 9 or 10 times whatever they think it's going to take. And then when you're missing a part, you got to go find it. And then some of this stuff, you know, some of these bikes I do, we got to go find it on eBay or something. And you know, on these old, we did an '86 Honda, 92 Honda, 03 KX125. We had to go search for parts and go find them. And they're not that old of bikes, really. You don't think. You think of vintage bikes as being like a '77 Elsinore, right, or whatever it is. But these bikes are still pretty old, and so they're shutting back on the new parts for these things. They want you to buy new bikes. They don't want you to fix up your old bike.
Right. Well, that's like talking to some of these companies. They're like, I mean, I tell them what I'm working on for who, and like, well, older two-strokes aren't really going to sell any parts for us.
Right.
We're more interested in getting these newer bikes parts out.
Right. They don't want you putting these parts on a YZ450, a brand new bike or whatever it is,
Yeah.
KX450. They want you promoting those things more so than these. But people love these bikes, and I think one of the reasons is, you know, you don't have to do everything you did to your bike here. You could just do the basics. You could do the wrench rabbit kit. You could change the bearings and seals and ride it roached out looking, and it would still all work fine,
Right.
you know. And that's the thing is, you can for, you know, under, you know, anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000, you can fix up a good two-stroke for in that range. Maybe you don't have it looking like yours looks,
Yeah.
but you can get it running good for, you know, somewhere, you know. And I'm saying kind of worst case deal, but $1,000 to $2,000, you can really, if you do the work yourself in the engine, you can really rebuild it and make it really nice.
Something else kind of cool is the whole family drove this bike all the way from Nebraska, so it's been an adventure just getting them here.
Yeah, that's been a cool part of this. We've been putting these together, and we're like, how can we? He goes, oh, maybe in the summertime we could come out. My family wants to do a vacation to California, and I'm like, yeah, summertime's the worst time to come to California. You want to come like in January, February, March, when it's a little nicer and not as hot. But they made it out here, and you know, your wife's out of school now, so you got a little break, so you guys can go and see some sights. Yeah. So. It's been great on this build. I appreciate everything you did on this thing, and I think everybody's going to love seeing this thing in Racer X and here on our YouTube, and seeing how you put this thing together. It's pretty rad.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate all the help and everything you've done and all the resources.
Very cool. All right, man. We'll see you guys out in the track or trail soon.
Thanks.
So here's where the fun began with the shock. Earlier in the video I mentioned that the 04 clevis on the shock is 20 millimeters longer than the 03. Well, problem being, I bought an 04 shock for this 03. So now I had to figure out a way to shorten this up by 20 millimeters and make everything work correctly. I found that 1 millimeter longer on the shock length equates to almost 3 millimeters on the back of the swing arm. That puts your seat height at almost 2.5 inches taller than normal, and none of the linkage works correctly, and none of the chain rollers will fit, and it's just a mess. So I took it to a local machine shop and had them work their magic on it, and everything came out correctly. Beforehand, I actually talked with Adam Walters at Pro Circuit to make sure that this was okay, and he said, yeah, there'd be no issues and everything should work just fine as long as they do a good job on the machining of it.